All right, ladies and gentlemen, you're on Radio Free Australia, and we are joined here today by somebody I've been wanting to speak to for a very long time, and that is the one and only Ruth Payne, who's well known in research circles. Ruth, thank you very much for joining us today.
Hello there.
I know that you've basically told the one story for the past, 60 years. I'm well aware of that, as anybody who's researched your statements over the years knows. However, I do have one query about something you said in an interview only a few years ago, and that was in regards to your accounts of, Marina Oswald, Lee Harvey Oswald's wife, her reaction to the news of President Kennedy's assassination. You said that you were watching the parade live on television, and you were speaking to her. Obviously, she didn't understand English, and you were speaking to her in Russian about what had happened. But the query that I had with that was that the Kennedy procession was not actually broadcast live on television. But I do query your claim that you watched the Kennedy procession live, because that would have been impossible.
I've been asked about this a lot over the past 60 years. As you get older, things change, and you start to see how things that you did in the past for a better future may have caused the opposite to happen. I just want to come clear about something people have asked me for years, that both myself and my husband were both employed by Central Intelligence as handlers for the Oswalds. He'd upset higher-ups in the agency, at least so I was told, over something, I don't know what.
Well, obviously, I know you weren't privy to everything. You were watching the Oswalds. You weren't necessarily aware of what else was going on outside of that world. But, I mean, just from your perspective as a working operative, what would you, just on a gut reaction, I know you don't have necessarily facts to bear you out on that, but just from your own personal take, what do you think happened there? What do you think the reasons were? Do you think Oswald was always part of the plan to be used in the way that he was? Or what was your take on the situation?
With what I know now, I suspect that Oswald might have been responsible for the anonymous FBI tip on the 2nd of November that stifled the planned Kennedy assassination in Chicago. Although I didn't know it at the time, I believe that I was ordered to place Oswald at the book depository to give them extra feet at the location to then be deployed as needed.
I mean, obviously, to me, that's just at the time even, and in subsequent years, forgetting the political social fallout, were there any, I know you were just following orders, but were there any regrets, either immediately or just after? What do you look back on the whole incident now as, forgetting the fact that, yes, you're an intelligence agent, yes, you're following orders, but what do you, how do you look back on the proceedings and events now?
As far as conspiracies go, this wasn't something we were in the decision-making process of. We were intelligence agents following the directives of our superiors. We did so with the understanding that this was in the country's best interests. Regret started right away. Michael and I were always distant from one another, but there was an unspoken distance that developed immediately following the events. In intelligence, our operations are usually low profile and away from public scrutiny. This was a domestic operation that the whole country was witness to and demanded answers. I stuck to my story because that's what was demanded from me.
How have things changed in the time when this occurred in 1963, the subsequent years just thereafter, and the decades that have now ensued? What do you think occurred? What's happened since that time that perhaps back then you didn't anticipate or would never have expected would have happened?
What we were assured we were protecting, traditional family values, has been flushed down the toilet over recent years by greedy corporate technological giants. I grew with a father in government. My sister, too, was a full-time agent. We did so with the understanding that we were contributing to the protection of America. What I see today is that the free market was single-handedly given to Russia, and now they've exploited it for rich communists. Suddenly these people are getting the control of this country that we fought so long to keep safe. This is why I feel I need to speak out.
Well, I know that although there are conflicting sentiments and ideas about who you are, what your role was, and I think what you've done today in speaking to us about all of this has really helped clarify some points for some people. How is it that you would like to be remembered? Because most of the writers and researchers who talk to you have been very positive in what they say about you. You're a very tactful, very respectful, very polite person, and it's been something that I think has been a little bit overlooked. A lot of the ideas are that this was all part of the intelligence scam. What would you like to? How would you like people to know you who perhaps don't know you?
Although agency work requires some disinformation, the one thing that I always stand proudly by were my religious convictions. I don't think without it I would ever have survived what we did, and continuing to with the knowledge of that.
Since the time that you worked with the agency, I know you remain quite active in the church movement and also as a teacher. And quite interestingly enough, in later years, I believe you studied and practiced psychology.
It was because of the exposure I received from the Assassination and Warren Commission, which prevented me from being an effective field agent. The years of experience that I had both first-hand and second-hand through members of my family allowed me to move on to the world of psychology quite easily.
Yeah, that really seems like a interesting, having worked in intelligence early on, and then moving along to psychology. I can imagine that would almost make a natural a natural progression from there.
It was a natural transition for me. The main diagnostic framework at the time in the U.S. and most Western countries as the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders. This book was a progressive adaptation from what was first published years earlier in U.S. Army training manuals. The idea being human psychology is the same. It doesn't matter if the context is in war or peacetime. That's what I now realize, and part of the reason why I'm talking to you about this today.
Well, thank you very much for your time today, and thanks for coming forward and clarifying. I think this will be important for a lot of people, and very much appreciated. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.